The world does not ask for your permission before it tests you. It does not care how good your intentions are, how loyal you have been, or how deeply you believe in fairness. At some point, you will face rejection from people you trusted, betrayal from people you defended, failure after giving everything, and criticism when you are already struggling. These moments can make you bitter, confused, and weak if you continue expecting life to reward you simply for being good. But there is another path. You can allow every painful experience to teach you something that comfort never could. Most people make the mistake of seeing pain as proof that something has gone wrong. They want to escape it immediately. They blame others, complain about circumstances, and wait for someone to rescue them. But powerful people eventually understand a darker truth. Adversity is information. Every betrayal reveals something about human nature. Every rejection teaches you where your value was misunderstood. Every failure exposes a weakness in your strategy. Every humiliation forces you to confront the parts of yourself you were trying to ignore. You must learn to study the world instead of merely reacting to it. Watch how people behave when they have power. Notice how quickly promises change when circumstances become difficult. Observe who respects boundaries and who only respects what they cannot control. Pay attention to the difference between what people say and what they repeatedly do. This awareness does not make you paranoid. It makes you difficult to deceive. The person who believes everyone is kind will eventually become someone else's victim. The person who believes everyone is evil will become blind to genuine loyalty. Wisdom lies in seeing people clearly without the comforting illusions created by hope, fear, or desperation. You do not need to hate humanity. You simply need to understand it. When the world tries to break you, your first instinct may be to protect your old self, the innocent version of you that expects fairness and approval. But survival sometimes requires transformation. You must become more observant, more disciplined, and less dependent on the opinions of others. Keep your heart, but strengthen your boundaries. Keep your ambition, but sharpen your judgment. Keep your dreams, but prepare for resistance. The goal is not to become heartless. The goal is to become awake. Once you understand that life will test you, you stop being shocked by every disappointment. You begin preparing, adapting, and moving forward. The world may strike you again and again, but every lesson you absorb becomes another layer of strength. What once wounded you can eventually become the knowledge that protects you, the discipline that guides you, and the power that ensures you never remain helpless again. Pain has a strange power over human beings. It can make one person collapse while turning another into someone almost impossible to defeat. The difference is not always talent, intelligence, or luck. Often, it is the decision made in the darkest moment, whether to see suffering as a prison or as raw material for transformation. Everyone wants strength, confidence, and self-control, but few understand that these qualities are often forged through experiences they once begged to avoid. Pain arrives without invitation, but what you build from it remains your choice. When you are betrayed, you have two options. You can spend years asking why someone hurt you, replaying every conversation and allowing their actions to control your emotions. Or you can study the experience and ask a more useful question. What did this teach me that I did not know before? This shift changes everything. You stop giving the person who hurt you permanent space inside your mind. Instead, you take the lesson and leave the burden behind. Your wounds should not become excuses for weakness. They should become evidence that you survived something that once threatened to destroy you. Remember the moments when you thought you would never recover. Remember the nights when your confidence disappeared and the future looked empty, yet you continued. Perhaps slowly, perhaps imperfectly, but you continued. That is proof of a strength you may not have recognized at the time. The danger is becoming addicted to your own suffering. Some people build their entire identity around what happened to them. They keep reopening old wounds because pain becomes familiar, and familiarity can feel safer than change. But you cannot build power while constantly worshiping your scars. Respect your past, learn from it, but do not live inside it. Use disappointment to develop discipline. Use rejection to become more independent. Use failure to improve your strategy. Use loneliness to become comfortable with your own company. Every difficult experience contains energy, and that energy can either be wasted through resentment or redirected toward growth. The person who learns this becomes dangerous in the most disciplined sense. Difficult to manipulate, difficult to discourage, and increasingly difficult to break. You do not need to pretend that pain feels good. It does not. Strength is not denying the wound. It is refusing to let the wound decide who you become. There will be moments when life strips away your confidence and exposes every insecurity you tried to hide. Do not run from those moments. Stand still long enough to understand them. Look directly at what frightens you. Discover where you are weak, then begin the quiet work of strengthening that part of yourself. Over time, you will realize that the experiences meant to diminish you can become the source of your greatest depth. Your pain can teach patience, awareness, resilience, and control. It can strip away illusions and force you to discover what truly matters. The wound may remain part of your story, but it no longer has to control the ending. You decide what happens next, and that decision is where transformation begins. There comes a moment in life when you realize that being endlessly gentle is not the same as being strong. You may have been taught to always forgive, always understand, always give people another chance, and always avoid conflict. Those qualities can be beautiful, but without boundaries, they can become invitations for manipulation. The world is filled with people who test weakness, push limits, and take more when they discover that you are afraid to say no. This is why you must develop a side of yourself that others cannot easily control. That is the monster within you, not a creature of cruelty, but a force that knows when enough is enough. A truly dangerous person is not someone who wants to hurt everyone around them. A truly powerful person is someone who has the capacity to defend themselves, but does not need to prove it every day. They understand their own strength. They know they can walk away, say no, endure loneliness, confront opposition, and survive the consequences of difficult decisions. Because of this, they do not live in constant fear of losing approval. Many people appear kind because they have no other option. They are quiet because they are afraid, agreeable because they feel powerless, and forgiving because they believe confrontation will cost them too much. But real character begins when you have the ability to fight and still choose restraint. You must become capable of standing your ground before your peace has any real meaning. This requires you to confront the parts of yourself you have spent years hiding. There is anger inside you. There is ambition, pride, competitiveness, and the desire to protect what belongs to you. Pretending these forces do not exist does not make them disappear. It only makes you unconscious of them. When you refuse to understand your darker impulses, other people can trigger and manipulate them without your awareness. Instead, learn to recognize these forces and place them under your command. Feel anger, but do not let anger command your actions. Feel ambition, but do not allow it to blind you. Feel the urge to retaliate, but decide carefully whether action will truly serve your interests. The monster is not the uncontrolled emotion. The monster is the disciplined capacity that remains hidden until the moment it is needed. There will be situations where kindness alone will not protect you. You may need to leave people behind without explaining yourself. You may need to disappoint someone who expects access to your time and energy. You may need to defend your reputation, protect your boundaries, or make a decision that others do not understand. In those moments, remember that you are not required to remain harmless just to make others comfortable. Your transformation begins when you stop confusing softness with virtue. You can be compassionate and still have limits. You can love deeply and still walk away. You can forgive someone without giving them another opportunity to hurt you. You can remain calm while making a final decision. Become someone with a peaceful mind but a powerful core. Let your kindness be a choice, not a weakness. Let your silence come from control, not fear. Build the strength to become whatever the moment demands, and keep that strength disciplined. When people realize they cannot easily intimidate, manipulate, or break you, They will begin to see the difference between someone who is harmless and someone who is simply choosing peace. The greatest weakness a person can carry is not fear, anger, or failure. It is emotional predictability. The moment other people understand exactly what provokes you, what makes you desperate, what makes you jealous, and what makes you lose control, they possess a map to your inner world. They know which buttons to press and when to press them. A careless insult can steal your peace. A delayed message can create anxiety. A small rejection can make you chase harder. Without realizing it, you hand your power to anyone who can manipulate your emotions. This is why self-mastery begins with observation. Before you can control your reactions, you must understand them. Notice what changes your mood. Notice the situations that make you defensive. Pay attention to the people whose approval you desperately seek. Ask yourself why their opinion has such power over you. The answer may reveal an insecurity you have avoided for years. Most emotional reactions are not created by the present moment alone. They are connected to old fears, unmet needs, wounded pride, and hidden expectations. The disciplined person does not become emotionless, they become conscious. There is a powerful difference. An emotionless person may simply be disconnected, but a conscious person can feel deeply without becoming a prisoner of every feeling. You can experience anger without sending the message that destroys your position. You can experience fear without allowing fear to stop your next move. You can feel rejection without begging someone to reverse their decision. Patience is one of the most underestimated forms of power. When others expect an immediate reaction and receive silence, they lose information. They cannot easily determine what you are thinking or what you will do next. This does not mean playing childish games or pretending not to care. It means giving yourself time before making decisions that could shape your future. Learn the art of the pause. When insulted, pause. When provoked, pause. When someone pressures you for an answer, pause. A few moments of control can prevent months of regret. People often create their greatest problems by acting during temporary emotional storms. They reveal secrets, make threats, end relationships, or accept bad conditions because they are desperate to escape an uncomfortable feeling. Do not allow temporary emotions to create permanent consequences. Your first feeling is often an impulse, not a command. You are not required to obey everything that happens inside your mind. This realization gives you distance. Between what happens to you and how you respond, there is a small space. Your power lives inside that space. Over time, emotional discipline becomes a shield. People may try to provoke you, flatter you, frighten you, or make you feel guilty. But when you understand your own triggers, their influence begins to weaken. You stop reacting automatically and start choosing strategically. The world will always contain chaos, pressure, and people who benefit from your loss of control. You cannot control their behavior, but you can control what they gain access to within you. Guard your reactions carefully. Speak when your words serve a purpose. Remain silent when silence protects your position. Move when the time is right, not when someone else succeeds in making you panic. When you master your emotions, you do not become less human. You become less controllable. And in a world where so many people are ruled by impulse, the ability to remain calm, patient, and deliberate becomes a form of power few can take from you. One of the most subtle traps in life is the hunger to be accepted by everyone. From an early age, you are taught to notice the reactions of other people. You learn which behavior earns praise, which words bring approval, and which parts of yourself should be hidden to avoid rejection. Slowly, without realizing it, you can begin building your entire identity around the opinions of others. You become careful not to disappoint, afraid to say what you truly think, and willing to sacrifice your own needs just to remain welcome in someone else's world. But the person who constantly needs approval is never completely free. Their emotions, decisions, and even their sense of worth can be controlled by the people whose acceptance they fear losing. The world quickly discovers what you are willing to trade for validation. If you will betray your principles to be liked, someone will eventually ask you to do it. If you are afraid to walk away because you cannot tolerate being disliked, people may continue crossing your boundaries. If your confidence rises and falls with compliments, then praise becomes a tool that can be used against you. The need for approval makes you predictable because others know exactly what reward will make you surrender your position. This is why you must begin the difficult process of separating your identity from the reactions around you. Ask yourself who you would become if no one applauded you. What would you pursue if nobody understood your ambition? What would you stop doing if there were no audience to impress? These questions can be uncomfortable because they force you to meet the person beneath the performance, but that meeting is necessary. You cannot become powerful while constantly asking the crowd for permission to exist. This does not mean you should ignore every opinion or believe that you are always right. Wise people listen, observe, and learn from criticism. The difference is that they do not surrender their identity to every voice. They consider advice without becoming dependent on it. They accept useful correction without allowing insults to define them. They understand that approval and respect are not the same thing. Many people will praise you when you are easy to control and criticize you when you begin protecting your boundaries. Their reaction does not automatically tell you whether you have made the wrong decision. There will be moments when becoming stronger makes you temporarily lonelier. When you stop always saying yes, some people may become disappointed. When you stop chasing, someone may lose interest. When you stop explaining yourself, those accustomed to controlling you may become angry. Do not immediately interpret these reactions as proof that you should return to your old behavior. Sometimes the discomfort of others is simply the consequence of your boundaries becoming visible. You must learn to survive being misunderstood. This is one of the hardest forms of independence. Human beings naturally want to explain themselves, to correct every false impression, and to make sure everyone knows their intentions. But you can waste enormous amounts of energy trying to manage the image that exists inside other people's minds. Some people have already decided who they want you to be. No perfect explanation will change them. No sacrifice will be enough for those who benefit from your insecurity. Instead, let your life become your argument. Build quietly, improve privately, develop skills that cannot be taken from you. Keep promises to yourself, especially the promises no one else knows about. Self-respect is created through repeated action. Every time you abandon your principles to gain temporary approval, you weaken your trust in yourself. Every time you honor a commitment despite discomfort, you strengthen that trust. Stop measuring your worth by how many people choose you. Some of the most important paths require you to continue before anyone else understands the destination. You may have to endure silence where you expected support. You may have to work without recognition. You may have to walk away from rooms where everyone expects you to remain. This is not a punishment. It is often the price of building an independent mind. The dangerous version of you begins to emerge when you no longer panic at rejection. You understand that losing access to certain people, opportunities, or environments will not destroy you. You can grieve without chasing. You can care without becoming dependent. You can appreciate praise without needing it to survive. Make your standards stronger than your hunger for acceptance. Decide what you will tolerate and what you will not. Decide which principles remain intact even when following them costs you something. Then live according to those standards consistently. People may admire you, criticize you, misunderstand you, or eventually leave. None of these reactions should have the power to erase who you are. The moment you stop begging the world to approve of you, you recover an enormous amount of energy. That energy can be directed toward mastery, discipline, creation, and growth. You become less concerned with appearing powerful and more focused on becoming capable. You stop performing strength and begin building it in silence. Respect that lasts cannot be forced through desperation. It is created when people recognize that you have a center they cannot easily move. You know what you value. You know what you are willing to lose. You no longer sell your peace for temporary acceptance. In a world that constantly pressures you to become whatever earns the fastest applause, choosing your own standards is an act of rebellion. And once you become comfortable standing without constant approval, manipulation loses one of its most effective weapons against you. Your final transformation begins when you stop running from the parts of yourself that make you uncomfortable. For years, you may have tried to present only your acceptable side to the world, the kind side, the patient side, the forgiving side, the version of you that makes other people feel safe. But inside every human being there are forces that cannot be ignored: anger, ambition, pride, aggression, fear, and the instinct to survive. These forces are not automatically evil. They become dangerous when they remain unconscious, when you deny them, fear them, or allow other people to awaken them without your control. The person who truly becomes powerful is not the one who has no darkness. It is the one who understands that darkness and places it under command. To become a monster in the deepest sense is to become capable of more than you usually need to show. It means knowing that beneath your calm exterior, there is a part of you that can endure pressure, face conflict, make difficult decisions, and walk away from anything that attempts to destroy your dignity. You do not have to threaten people with this strength. In fact, the strongest form of power rarely needs an announcement. It appears in your choices. It appears when you refuse to beg. It appears when you remain composed while someone tries to provoke you. It appears when you can leave a situation that no longer serves you, even when your emotions desperately want to stay. Many people misunderstand strength because they only recognize its loudest forms. They think power means anger, intimidation, domination, or making others afraid. But uncontrolled aggression is often a sign of weakness. The person who explodes at every insult has allowed others to control their emotional state. The person who needs to dominate every conversation may be terrified of losing influence. The person who constantly proves how strong they are may secretly doubt themselves. Real strength is quieter. It is the ability to choose your response when pressure is greatest. This is where your darker side becomes useful. You must develop the capacity to say no without guilt. You must become capable of ending connections that repeatedly damage your peace. You must learn to defend your boundaries without writing a long explanation for people who have already shown that they do not respect them. You must be willing to disappoint others when protecting yourself is necessary. None of this makes you cruel. Cruelty is taking pleasure in unnecessary harm. Strength is refusing to allow unnecessary harm to continue. There will be moments when your transformation makes you feel unfamiliar to yourself. You may look back at the person you once were and realize how often you tolerated disrespect because you were afraid of losing people. You may remember the times you remained silent because you did not want conflict, even when silence was slowly destroying your confidence. You may recognize how often you accepted less than you deserved because a part of you believed that being chosen by others was more important than choosing yourself. Do not hate that older version of yourself. That person did what they could with the awareness they had. But do not return to them simply because weakness is familiar. Growth often feels like losing an identity before you discover a stronger one. The old habits will call you back. You will feel tempted to explain yourself again, to chase again, to forgive without change, to ignore your instincts, and to make yourself smaller so others can remain comfortable. In those moments, remember what your past has already taught you. The monster within you is not a license to become heartless. It is your ability to become firm when firmness is required. It is your ability to protect your mind, your time, your energy, and your future. It is the part of you that can survive disappointment without losing direction. It is the part that understands you can love someone and still leave them. You can forgive someone and still deny them access. You can be compassionate without becoming available for exploitation. You can remain peaceful without becoming defenseless. This transformation demands discipline. Anyone can be kind when life is easy. Anyone can remain calm when nobody challenges them. The test comes when you are insulted, betrayed, rejected, or tempted to return to a situation you know is harmful. What will you do then? Will you surrender to the old patterns because they are comfortable? Or will you use everything you have learned to make a different choice? Build a mind that does not collapse when reality refuses to cooperate with your expectations. Build a body and routine that support your discipline. Build relationships with people who respect your boundaries rather than constantly testing them. Build skills that make you more independent. The less helpless you feel, the less easily fear can control you. Independence does not mean refusing all help. It means knowing that your entire identity will not disappear if one person, one opportunity, or one chapter of life ends. Accept that some battles will leave marks. Not every experience will have a perfect explanation, and not every person who hurts you will apologize. You may never receive the closure you once believed you needed, but you can still move forward. You can close the door yourself. You can take the lesson without receiving permission from the person who caused the pain. The world may continue to test you. New people will arrive. New disappointments will appear. New forms of pressure will challenge the discipline you have built. The goal is not to become invincible, because no human being is beyond pain. The goal is to become resilient enough that pain does not permanently define your direction. Become the person who can face the darkness without becoming consumed by it. Develop strength without losing wisdom. Develop boundaries without losing humanity. Become capable of fighting, but intelligent enough to know which battles deserve your energy. Become capable of walking away, but secure enough not to run from every difficulty. Let your kindness remain a choice, not a condition imposed by weakness. When you learn to command both your light and your darkness, something changes. You stop fearing the world as much because you finally trust the person who must face it, yourself. You know that hardship can hurt you, but it no longer has the same power to erase you. You have faced pain, studied it, and transformed what you could into strength. The world may try to break you again, but it will no longer find the same unprotected person standing in its path.